All right, guys, welcome back to the final third here. Matt and Seth, we are going to be talking about five transfers that we want to personally see happen. So, some of these you may have heard in the news and we agree with, and we want them to happen. And some of them we could have just made up, and we personally think that transfer should happen.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. We should have some variety here of what's going on.
hmm
Seth, you want to give us one of your five transfers?
Okay. So I'm starting this off quite sentimentally, and I don't actually want this transfer to happen,
Oh God.
but I think it needs to for the player's career. Conor Gallagher, and he needs to go somewhere because he's not gonna get the minutes he deserves at Chelsea. Like he's too good of a player to sit back behind us. Like he plays for our badge. He will die for our team. And if we're not going to respect him and give him the minutes he deserves and honor that, then he needs to go somewhere. And an option I gave was AC Milan.
Mm.
Go join some other Chelsea boys over there. I think he'll fit the play style well. I think he'll pair up with Musa well. I think it could just be a really fun fit for him, and like I think we could see him playing some of his best football of his career if he made a move like that.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's actually one of my potential transfers is Conor Gallagher, not to AC
hmm
Milan, um, but back to Crystal Palace. Now, I don't know when this
Yeah.
video is coming out, but we did talk about Crystal Palace in another video, and I think it
hmm
would make sense if he went there. First of all, he played really well when he was on loan there. Great
Yeah.
player, and I think they're missing that in the midfield. They've got Eze
hmm
up top as the number 10, got Elise out wide, good center back pairing with Tyreek Mitchell on the left back as well. But they're missing something. They need a striker.
hmm
They need someone in the midfield to do kind of the dirty work because they don't really have that. Um,
Yeah, dude,
honestly,
he'd replace Lerma so well.
yeah,
Like
and
Chris Richards,
honestly,
Conor
yeah,
Gallagher,
I
and
was gonna say,
Eze.
I
Woohoo!
think with Chris Richards playing in the defensive midfield role, which he's not typically used to, I think putting
Yeah.
Conor Gallagher in there, a guy that loves to run around, a guy that loves to do the hard work, I think that could take a lot of pressure off of Chris Richards, and it could take a lot of pressure off of Eze to do more than he needs to do. Conor Gallagher's
Yeah.
just going to run around. He's going to do all the dirty work. He's going to do all the running. You got Chris Richards who can just kind of focus on being like a higher up third center back, pretty much, and just carry all the defensive workload. And then Eze's free to kind of roam around in that in between space up near the
Yeah.
box and be a little creative. So I think Conor Gallagher going to Crystal Palace. I mean, AC Milan's a great shout. And I think they've had success with former Chelsea players, as we know,
Mhm.
with Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi doing well there right now. But yeah, I can see either of those options happening.
Yeah. He just needs to go. He needs to go, not because I want him to go, but for his own career. He needs
Yeah,
to get out of Chelsea.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I just think, and especially with all the players they brought back on loan in the past few days, Chelsea, I think there's just going to be a lot of battle in that midfield. And even though
Yeah.
Conor Gallagher might be our best player of the season so far, I still think Enzo and Caicedo in the long run are going to be our best center back pairing,
Look, let's
best
hope
fit
so.
wise. So, at the end of the day, you're making pure profit off of Conor Gallagher. He's an academy guy. I would
Yeah.
love to see him there. He's one of my favorite players at Chelsea, but because I love him, he has to go.
Same. It comes from a place of love.
Yep.
But let's hear
And
another transfer
yeah.
you'd like to
So
see.
I'll go now just because mine's another Chelsea one here. Um, it's either Benzema or Mitrovic on loan to Chelsea for 6 months. I think it makes the most sense for Chelsea. It makes the most sense for those players. I think they're unhappy in Saudi Arabia right now. We've heard the reports. They want to come back to Europe. And I think a loan to Chelsea would be the perfect thing for them. Um,
So with that, I like those options, but I also came up with a striker option for Chelsea.
oh,
Um, Not a loan option, but a buy. And I like Stuttgart's Siru Guarci.
interesting.
Um,
I'll talk about him in a
he,
little bit.
yeah, dude, I think he's a baller. I think he'll fit Chelsea's team well. I think he plays in the style of a nine we need. But I mean, dude, he's started 12 games this season, played 14 matches, already has 17 goals, average rating of an 8.05 on FootMob. So yeah, I think it'd be a great fit. And I think
Yeah, I'm
it I think it's like better than the Tony option. I think it's like, look, we don't need to get another big name player. We just need a good player, and I
Yeah.
think he's that guy for us.
I'll get into Garassi in a minute because I have him going somewhere else. But Mitrovic and Benzema, I think they're the perfect option for Chelsea because I don't think Chelsea should go out there and get a Garassi right now. I
Mm.
think Chelsea have tried. Spent first of all, Garassi is going to be $80 million, 80 million pounds. I'm telling you right now,
No, his
minimum
market
80
value is
million. Um,
43, but for Chelsea,
doesn't
he's
matter.
80.
Doesn't matter. Market value is 40. Add 40 million for a striker, and then add another 30 million for the Chelsea fee. You're already at 115 mil. No, but I think what Chelsea needs to do is they're fighting for European places, right? The way
Mhm.
to get these big name players to come to Chelsea is you need to go and you need to get into European football. If you're finishing 10th or 11th, you're less likely, and you're fighting with Arsenal to go get a number 9. They're most likely going to go to Arsenal over Chelsea because they've got
Yeah.
European football and they can go try to win a trophy. I think if you
But
go
we're
out there,
gonna win the Carabao Cup though, so it's gonna be fine.
that gives us like conference league. I don't
We're
think they
gonna win
want
the
to give us
EFL.
conference league. You mean the FA Cup would give
Yeah,
us
sorry.
Europa League,
Yeah,
but but
it's
I
a
think
long day.
I think doing the loan move for Mitrovic or Benzema is the perfect option for Chelsea because first of all, they are pure goal scorers. You get them into
Mm,
that team with the amount of creation that this team does, they're going to go out there and score 10 plus goals in this second half of the season, and that's what
yeah,
Chelsea needs to get into that top 7, top 6 position. Now we go out there and do a long term move, go out there and spend 115 million plus on one of these strikers, and they don't work out. Guess what? It's another terrible transfer. Chelsea gets mocked and can't do anything about it. I think a
yeah,
short term loan here, 6 months, get a guy in there that can make a huge difference, and then in the summer, regroup, go over all these options, and then you pull the trigger on a
yeah.
big time striker.
Look,
Now,
I like that game plan.
but all right, so that's what I go with there. Now back to Sergio Garassi. I have him going to West Ham. I think Sergio Garassi to West
Oh,
Ham
that's
would
fun.
make all of the sense in the world. Jared Bowen gets to move back out wide where he's naturally plays, and then you get Garassi in there as a goal scoring striker. That West Ham team moves from a top 6 team to challenging for a top 4 team. I think
Yeah,
that team would be so good. You just think of that front three. You got Kudus, Garassi, Bowen. Then the midfield of Paqueta, James Ward-Prowse, and Edson Alvarez. I mean, that team, that front 6 is insane. Then what you got to do is you just got to fill some gaps in on the defensive side of the ball. I think that team is really, really good. And I think it's something that they're missing since Michael Antonio has kind of fallen off. They tried to
oh,
do it
for
with
sure.
Skamaka. Skamaka hasn't done it. I think they need a striker. They're in the top 6 in the Prem. They're in a position where they can go and potentially challenge for a European title next year in the Europa League again. They can go out there and try to get Champions League next season. I think Sergio Garassi is the big move they need to make. They sold Declan Rice. They've got the money. Go out there and get a big name striker like Garassi.
So funny enough, I also have an option for West Ham,
Okay.
and I have the Leeds winger Wilfred Gnotto.
Oh, okay.
The Italian-born player, dude, he's balling for Leeds. He did well for Leeds in the Prem last season. He was part of the reason why they actually had a fight to stay up, and I think
Yep.
he'll slot in there. I don't know if he'll start right off the bat, but I think after a season or even half a season, he'll be first man off the bench, and I think he could just really see his career start to fly at West Ham. And I think again, he'll give them just another attacking push in their charge to stay high in the Prem moving forward.
Yeah. I think Nanto is a really interesting option because he can play up front as a 9. He can play
Hmm.
out on the left side as well. And I think
Yeah,
that's something where
and
if
it's a
you're
little
not going to go
cheaper.
get a, yeah. And if you're not going to go out there and get like a traditional number 9, you keep Jared Bowen up top. You have Kudus playing off the right and you've got Nanto
Yep.
playing off the left. I think that's a good move and it's a move that keeps them in the position that they are. I just don't think it's a
Yeah,
game changing move, which is a move that
that's fair.
I think at this point they need to make a game changing move. They're in a position where
Yeah,
they can go and consistently be a top 6 team. I think Grassi makes that for them.
yeah, they could splat. They could do to splash some cash.
Yeah. So now
Yeah.
another one that I have, I think this is a really interesting one. He's been balling out for Senegal so far at the AFCON. That's Lamine Kamara, midfielder from Metz, 20 years old.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he is an absolute baller. And there's 3 teams that I'm looking at. I chose Fulham. as a team that he should go to.
Okay.
I think they're a very old team and they could use an infusion of youth. He's a
Yeah.
player that he plays in the 8, but he can also play the 6. So if João Palhinha leaves, he's a guy that can take over that position if necessary. He's in the 97th percentile for defensive actions for midfielders. So he's really good on the defensive side of the ball. But I
Mhm.
think he'd work really well in unison with a guy like Palhinha. The other two options that I was looking at for him were Crystal Palace. I think he's a guy, especially if you go get Conor Gallagher, he's a guy that could play next to Conor Gallagher, do more of the defensive work. Conor Gallagher doing all the dirty work, and Eze, I think that would be a really good midfield trio. And then the third
Yeah.
team is Brentford. I don't know when this video comes out again, but we talked about Christian Norgard and Matthias Jensen in one
Mhm.
of our other videos. I think Lamine Kamara would be a good person. Norgard is the attacking, Matthias Jensen and Lamine Kamara as potential 8s. He's a game changing player. And I think he's a guy that can come into any of these 3 teams who are kind of like in the middle of the pack. They're teams that are on the bottom half of the table, but can be mid table teams, potential top 10 teams. And a
Yeah.
guy like Lamine Kamara, young, youthful, hard worker, good defensively, but also can get forward. He's a guy that can be a game changing player for some of these teams that are looking to make that push into the top 10.
Yeah, I like that shout. Fulham definitely needs more youth, so I think his energy and creativity could really help them out. But the last player I kind of want to bring up, and this is more for the good of the team than for the good of the player, but this guy just needs to go. I think he's a little in over his head. I think a loan move would maybe be good for him. I think maybe dropping down to the championship, but Forest need to get rid of Matt Turner.
Yeah.
And I put Middlesbrough because they obviously need some help in net after the battering against Chelsea. And I'll tell you what, Matt is a great shot stopper. He needs to work on his feet, but he's a great shot stopper. And I think he just needs to move to get a fresh start somewhere. I think he's a championship level goalkeeper and can reach Prem if he gets his feet sorted a little bit. But right now, it's just not working at Forest. And I think for his career and for their sake to try to stay up, he's got to go.
Yeah. I think Matt Turner's a guy that he has the potential to be a Prem keeper, but he's just not it right now. He's not
Yeah.
playing well enough. Great shot stopper, as you said. He's made a lot of mistakes. Um, I like the championship stout. I think he could also go to a bottom tier Premier League team as well. I just think Nottingham Forest are better than that,
They
and they
are a
deserve a
bottom
little bit
league.
better.
They are a
No, but I think
bottom
they're better
tier.
than that. Even though they're
They
bottom
are
tier, I
better
think
than
they're
that, but they're
better than that.
not because he's there.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
issue.
So I think he could potentially be in like a bottom tier, like an actual bottom tier Prem team.
Like Luton?
Um,
No, Luton's
like
keeper's actually been
yeah,
okay.
they've got Kaminsky. I love him. He's from Blackburn.
Yeah.
He's a great keeper. But
Yeah,
real
I think
quick
he's good too.
before we run out of time, I just want to do my last one. It's a little bit of a shout. MLS player who's been absolutely balling out, Thiago Almada. No
Mm,
specific team, no specific team. I just want him to go to La Liga. I think if he goes to a mid-tier La Liga team where he's going to get consistent playing time, I
yeah.
think he could be really good. It's a good introduction to European football. It's a little slower
Hmm.
paced. He gets used to the difference in skill level. He gets to develop his technical skills, and he gets used to the play style of Europe. Then he can make his move to a Prem team, to a Bundesliga team, to a different team where it's a little bit more fast paced, but he's already used to European football at that point and he's developed
Yeah.
his talent. So that's all. I think that would be a great shout for
I
him.
like that
But
shot.
yeah, that's our little transfer episode there. We got a good little mix of players there. I think the
Yeah.
Garassi shout's really good. The Kamara shout's really good. I think the Conor Gallagher shout that you made to AC Milan is really good. Um, there are a
Yota.
lot of really good Noto as well. Noto to West
Yeah.
Ham. But let us know what you
Yeah.
think, who you want to see transfer out. And that's it from us here.
Yeah. Thank you guys.